tears, blood, and violence. Pamela Anderson had to accept it in her marriage to Tommy Lee, the infamous drummer. The world saw just the sex bomb burning on the red carpet for years, but behind closed doors, she had a nightmare that ruined her life and career. Hollywood's ultimate sex symbol has finally torn off the mask, and the startling truth is enough to make the entire world cringe. When you think of this marriage, what comes to mind, a dark scandal or a passionate love story? Pamela Anderson quickly became a part of Tommy Lee's world, as well as with a fascination that threw them both into a vicious cycle. After only a few brief meetings, the Mötley Crüe drummer immediately jumped into Pamela's personal life in late 1994, erasing any distinctions. The couple was married on the Cancun beach 6 weeks later. He was wearing swimming trunks and she was wearing a white bikini. In lieu of diamond rings or ornate ceremonies, they chose to commemorate their commitment by getting each other's names permanently inked on their bodies. In actuality, the relationship was a turbulent one, despite being characterized as love at first sight. Married life swiftly devolved into a litany of parties, drugs, and acrimonious disputes. "I only ever loved Pamela for that one moment. I later acknowledged that it was the worst nightmare I had ever had." The theft of a private tape from their villa's safe was the most startling event. Originally intended as a memento, a holiday recording became viral all over the world, sparking an unparalleled period of sex tapes going viral online. Pamela was the one who suffered the most, even though Tommy perceived it as an invasion of privacy. The media attention around the recording damaged her reputation as a rising actress and obscured her career prospects. She previously remarked, "I didn't just lose control of my body. I lost the career I had spent so much time and effort building." Pamela became pregnant with her first child during the media frenzy. She battled to keep her tiny family's lives normal while managing the mounting demand from the public. As their relationship grew more strained, the rumors persisted around her. Pamela was mentally worn out, and Tommy started acting domineering and envious. She considered leaving several times as a result of this spiral, but she was dragged back by her blind devotion. Pamela became hopeless because to the incessant fighting, partying, and arguing. The media continued to promote them as the hottest couple of the decade. On the inside, however, Pamela felt confined. In her memoir, she writes, "I thought my life would end within the walls of that house." Following one another, 2 sons were born, and the arrival of Brandon and Dylan was a rare ray of hope during the gloomy times. However, little changed in the scenario. In truth, the disagreement grew more serious, but the appearance of children only made Pamela try harder to keep up the appearance of a happy family. Pamela progressively became depressed, exhausted, and terrified all the time as a result of the criticisms, the heated fights, and the long days of uncertainty. In retrospect, those engaged referred to it as a time of both love and destruction. Pamela once said, "I loved him so much that I lost myself." It was a brief but eerie statement. The nature of an apparently passionate relationship was revealed in that sentence. In actuality, though, it was really a cycle of fervor, emotional violence, and fatigue. In addition to reflecting a difficult time, Pamela's description of the marriage as a nightmare captured the whole agonizing experience of a celebrity engulfed in the maelstrom of fame and love. It served as the cornerstone of the imminent collapse that would cause things to take an even darker turn. Divorce, violence, and the wounds. If the marriage was turbulent in its early years, a startling event was the true turning point. Tommy Lee committed a violent incident in Pamela Anderson's home in 1998 while she was holding her baby kid. Following this incident, Pamela filed for divorce right away, and Lee was arrested, tried, and given a sentence of 6 months in prison. This was the pivotal moment that destroyed the facade of family she had attempted to uphold. Pamela gained notice throughout the court procedures, but it wasn't for the good reason. The trial was extensively covered by the media, which also highlighted the risky circumstances she was in. The woman who was once referred to as a global sex symbol now showed up as a real victim who was hurt physically and mentally. Pamela demonstrated unheard of resolve in court by stating that there was no going back. A custody dispute started right away after the divorce. Both sought to dominate Dylan and Brandon, which resulted in a string of heated court appearances. While Tommy Lee worked to establish his worth, Pamela worried that the children would be impacted by his extravagant lifestyle. Joint custody was ultimately decided upon, but Pamela had to struggle hard for years to get there. Pamela had to deal with declining health in addition to the legal disputes. She learned that she had gotten hepatitis C via sharing tattoo needles with Lee when she was talking to him about her history. The public was horrified, and the seriousness of the relationship was brought to light when this information was released. Pamela had to undergo years of treatment because the illness not only endangered her physical health but also her mental well-being. When Pamela admitted to considering suicide, the emotional harm became even more apparent. She later wrote in her notebooks that she was plagued with fear, frequently unable to sleep, and experiencing panic attacks. "It was a daily struggle with myself," she wrote. This suffering resulted from the assault as well as the enduring recollection of Lee's dominance and jealousy. The connection that was once enthralling and passionate has now turned into a terrible lesson. Pamela acknowledges that Tommy devastated her, despite her repeated claims that he was her one and only genuine love. The sentence, "I fell in love blindly and paid with my youth," came to perfectly capture the struggle of attachment and pain in her heart. Lee continued to be a part of Pamela's life after the divorce. They had to interact for the benefit of their 2 children. However, every time they did, it evoked a string of recollections that were hard to forget. Pamela even acknowledged that every discussion on the kids seemed like a knife piercing an old wound. In reality, the gap was unavoidable, but in the public view, they were still a couple constrained by circumstances. Pamela found it much more difficult to break free from the picture of tragedy after being compelled to play the victim. Her film projects diminished, her acting career started to stagnate, and she was more frequently featured in the news for her personal than for her work. Every action Pamela took, including going to events and giving public speeches, was closely watched. She was quite confused during this time and no longer felt like she belonged in the spotlight. Pamela had to deal with 2 opposing realities in her heart. One was that children were left behind by the once burning love, and the other was that the same love had left behind innumerable aftereffects that were not immediately reversible. She was troubled by these 2 extremes and was looking for a way out. Despite the apparent collapse, Pamela persisted in safeguarding her children and gradually continued to fulfill her duties as a mother. This destruction led to hurried marriages and frequent wanderings in the years that followed. From then, she gradually came to the realization that, despite their breakup, Tommy Lee's shadow would always be there. Short marriages and the lost path following the dissolution of her marriage to Tommy Lee, Pamela Anderson experienced a string of emotional failures. Every marriage that followed was brief, turbulent, and ultimately unsuccessful, leaving a woman in quest of something she had never discovered. Pamela married singer Kid Rock in 2006. The sharp contrast between the television celebrity and the rebellious rock singer made the relationship a media sensation. The French yacht wedding appeared to be the beginning of a new chapter, but Pamela filed for divorce less than 4 months later. Irreconcilable differences and conflicts resulting from disparate lifestyles were identified as the cause. Although the split brought her back into the spotlight, Pamela's inner turmoil persisted. Pamela then went on to the well-known poker player Rick Salomon. After a few months, they promptly dissolved their 2007 marriage. They chose to get married again in 2014 after a few years of separation, but they later broke up once more. Pamela has never been free from repetition in her emotional choices, as evidenced by the fact that she has entered into the same relationship twice and both of them terminated abruptly. These efforts resembled a last-ditch effort to fill Tommy Lee's emptiness. However, the outcome was a string of failures. Pamela married Dan Hayhurst, a construction worker, during the pandemic in 2020, and they shared a home on Vancouver Island. Her own house served as the venue for the wedding. Many people formerly thought Pamela had achieved peace as a result of this decision. However, the marriage ended a year later. Pamela acknowledged that she made this snap decision because she was lonely during the social distance stage. She was drawn back to a vanished existence by the eerie past once more. In retrospect, Pamela has stated time and time again that her later marriages were not the result of genuine love. Rather, they were impulsive responses, an effort to fill a need. She acknowledges that she was unable to replicate the emotion she had and that each attempt only made her tireder. The long-standing stalemate in her pursuit of commitment is evident in her confession. Her two boys, Brandon and Dylan, have taken on the role of the sole source of stability for Pamela in the face of the failures. She spends a lot of time with her kids and keeps a close eye on their development in the fashion and entertainment sectors. However, because of the frequent separations, Pamela has made a concerted effort to become a protective mother to her kids away from the spotlight. Her personal life has remained rather stable as a result of this. Nevertheless, the deception was clear. Pamela's private life was much discussed in the era's media. A string of headlines about failed love affairs took the place of the picture of a well-known actress. Pamela's artistic endeavors dwindled, and she came to be seen as a disturbed individual. She found it much more difficult to shake the shadow of her past because of this truth. The legacy of the brief marriages is evident. Pamela came to the realization that her search for love was insufficient. She was a model of loss after a breakup since she consistently picked the wrong partner at the wrong moment. However, that very experience forced Pamela to come to the new understanding that healing is really found in going back to oneself rather than depending on others. She made the decision to live alone and in solitude, holding her independence and her kids in the highest regard. Her repeated failures served as harsh lessons that helped her realize the reality rather than totally defeating her. The previous wounds were only made worse by every attempt to replace Tommy Lee. From that base, Pamela started to consider a different path in which she could shed the stigma attached to strained relationships and rediscover her principles via art and more self-reliant decisions. Rebirth by truth and creativity. Pamela Anderson started her quest to remake herself by sharing her experience after years of failed relationships. She chose to speak out about her history utilizing art and media to regain control over her image rather than remaining mute about what had happened. Pamela was able to emerge from the shadows and reposition herself in the public eye thanks to this pivotal moment. A significant milestone was reached in 2023 with the publication of her memoir, Love Pamela. Pamela wrote extensively about her tumultuous years and her marriage to Tommy Lee, which brought her celebrity as a youngster. This time, the voice came straight from her, not the outside rumors. The autobiography swiftly rose to the top of the bestseller list and restored Pamela's reputation as a lady who dared to speak the truth. Simultaneously, the Netflix documentary Pamela, A Love Story was made available, offering viewers a more candid viewpoint through never-before-seen photos and intimate documents. Pamela was able to redefine her legacy by using these two goods as the cornerstone. Not satisfied with recounting her history, Pamela went back to Chicago's Broadway. She played Roxy Hart in her comeback, which caused a stir. A part that needed acting, dancing, and singing all at once. Viewers saw Pamela as a serious actress with exceptional talent, rather than just a sex icon. Her Broadway success demonstrated her ability to shatter stereotypes and create new employment prospects. The Last Showgirl, a film project, was another example of her success. Pamela received a lot of praise for her role and was nominated for several important prizes. She later revealed that every piece of art she does serves as a form of therapy. In a promotional talk, Pamela stated, "I feel like I remove another layer of the past every time I appear on screen." In addition to signaling her comeback, the final showgirl demonstrated her fortitude in confronting her past. When Pamela made an appearance in The Naked Gun in 2025, she continued to garner recognition. For her, it was a comedy, but it was also a chance to mend her psychological scars. Pamela confirmed in an interview that the time on set gave her the confidence and joy she had lost. By taking part in a significant entertainment production, Pamela demonstrated that she had completely reintegrated into the artistic community and was no longer constrained by historical stereotypes. In addition to movies and theater, Pamela uses everyday life to instill new values. She started the television program Pamela's Cooking with Love, in which viewers witness a picture of a modest woman in the kitchen, sharing stories and recipes. The show is noteworthy not only for its humor but also for the way Pamela blends life teachings with food. This demonstrates unequivocally that she has found peace and is prepared to share it. Pamela loves social activities in addition to art. She frequently advocates for vegetarianism and environmental preservation, and she actively supports PETA and animal protection groups. Pamela's transition to humanitarian endeavors aids in her increased recognition, which is no longer solely based on entertainment. Her new image as a responsible, mature lady who upholds moral principles is strengthened as a result. Documentaries, stage plays, movies, TV series, advocacy, and memoirs all come together to paint a new picture. Pamela Anderson is now seen as a person who battled to take back control of her life rather than as someone connected to sex recordings or scandalous marriages. Pamela stands out from the crowd thanks to her artistic accomplishments and her attempts to share her own story. In addition to being well known in the entertainment sector, she is a shining example of how art can be used to promote healing. This path demonstrates that one can get back up and re-establish their value even after falling. And in order to validate her eternal vitality, Pamela keeps starting a new chapter where truth and art coexist. Legacy and strength. At the age of 58, Pamela Anderson has emerged from her personal struggles to establish her legacy. The spectator is left with the impression that she has the resilience to endure hardship and the capacity to change after all the brief romances and a string of chaotic and turbulent days. Her revelation about her terrible marriage to Tommy Lee marked the end of one chapter in her life and the start of a new one. Pamela's bravery in facing reality is what will live on in her legacy more than her magazine covers or one-time TV appearances. Pamela made the decision to be completely honest and straightforward while many would rather keep quiet in order to protect their reputation. She became a symbol of bravery and honesty as a result of this deed. It demonstrated that even errors and unpleasant memories may be confronted and communicated. Can serve as the impetus for altering how people perceive a person. Dylan and Brandon, her two kids, play a significant role in that heritage. Despite growing up in the spotlight, both have avoided the media at all costs. Pamela has emphasized time and time again that her experiences should teach her kids to stay away from them. Their development is now evidence of Pamela's efforts as a mother, a function she has always prioritized. But her numerous emotional failures. Pamela has impacted a generation of young ladies outside of her family. She is a role model for a woman who knows how to regain control because of her public naming of abuse, her admittance that blind love had harmed her, and her fierce declaration of independence. It's an obvious message. A difficult past might serve as the basis for a new existence rather than its demise. Pamela also made a difference in how the general public views entertainment figures. She was formerly viewed as a stereotypical sex symbol, but she now demonstrates that persistence, creativity, social action, and speaking her opinion can all help rebuild careers. This leaves a unique legacy, the reputation of a lady who has the courage to face her own darkness. Pamela, who is 58, leads a peaceful existence on Vancouver Island, reading nature-themed family literature and engaging in artistic endeavors. This way of living is evidence of her maturity and shows that she has found serenity after enduring hardships. Her legacy includes not just her TV series, performances, and autobiographies, but also the reputation of someone who has persevered through it all. Pamela Anderson's message was strong. Strength comes from having the courage to speak the truth, not from evading it. Once the most agonizing thing in her life, her terrible marriage to Tommy Lee is now a monument to her strength. Considering the whole experience, Pamela's worth is found in both the entertainment sector and the survival narrative, where every setback is turned into a strength. The most enduring legacy she leaves for the following generation is that. And Pamela Anderson has been traveling along that path. From the glitzy climax, the difficult years, to the fortitude and legacy she leaves behind at 58. Her experience serves as a reminder that everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how we pick ourselves up and go on. To ensure you don't miss the next material, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you found this video helpful and would like to join us in sharing really inspirational stories. And share your thoughts after viewing this unique adventure in the comments section below.